Wednesday, July 10th, and welcome into the Frank Beckmann Show, everybody, the spot where we always keep you the best-informed audience in all of radio. You know, one of our favorite guests up in Lansing is the state senator, Pete Lucido, who's always very colorful, but always very on point. He's the only lawyer in the state Senate, and he's out of Shelby Township, of course. He's a Republican, and he is now talking about an issue that I guess when I first saw it, I was a little bit surprised to see that he was involved in it, and yet I'm not, because I know of his concern for his community in the area that he serves. We know we have record high water levels on our lakes, including Lake St. Clair, highest levels we've seen in years, right? Well, there's a problem for landowners in that boaters are apparently not taking that into account, and not enough boaters are paying attention to areas that say no wake. Now, no wake means you don't make any waves. They don't want the waves hitting the shore. It's going to destroy things up there, and there's apparently been just an onslaught of people who have broken that rule and caused wakes and are causing trouble along the shoreline. And so State Senator Pete Lucido wants to get involved in it. Good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, Frank, and welcome back from the 4th of July, and we're back with a boom.
Yeah, I guess you are. You're like the fireworks on the 4th here, going off once again. So what brought you to this issue of the no-wake zones?
You know, I just had this thought of over the years growing up in St. Clair Shores, which I'm still fond of. That's still my home. That's my birthplace. I looked over there at the water, and I saw it coming over onto Jefferson, coming over onto Shook Road, and I'm saying, what's causing a lot of this is the water levels. But now to exacerbate the water levels, we have boats that are coming through no-wake zones, which means when you bring your boat through, you're supposed to go ahead and go at a speed that is not going to cause a wake to jump over the seawall or the wall that is holding up the erosion of the soil there and pin into the ground. And I've had, I was over at a friend of mine's house on the canal. I saw how high the water level was, and when I saw the boats coming through, the water was jumping over, and I said, the reason why we have speeds that are in law through Natural Resource and Environmental Protection Act is to, one, make sure that the levels of the water don't take away the integrity of the land and the property owner who is on the land, also to preserve nature, but most importantly, boater safety. And here's what the dilemma is. We go on the highway, and when construction workers are out there working or we have imperiled areas, we have signs that says you're not allowed to go any more than 45 miles an hour on the freeway. Mm-hmm. But we don't have anything on the water, and it's supposed to be a judgment call on no wake, which means who's policing this? Well, we all know that the Sheriff's Department, the Marine Division, we all know that the Michigan Department of Natural Resource and the U.S. Coast Guard are supposed to be vigilant and strictly enforce the laws as written, no wake zone. The problem is we have multiple canals out there. We have water levels at an all-time high. We have people saying that my property's getting flooded out. And now we have people moving the water even more rapidly, coming up over and going onto the roads, creating more hayok. And the reality is this is a busy time on the water.
And those marine divisions can't be everywhere. They basically come when like police do on land, when there is trouble, they get called and they come in after the fact to take care of the situation.
Precisely. It's just like the fireworks. I must have had 150 to 200 calls at my office here in Lansing. They asked me, Senator Lucido, can you help us out here? And I said they had 3,800 calls in Shelby Township, just alone. And they said, look, we can't be in every spot where these are going off after hours. And I brought a bill that's trying to ban the fireworks altogether, but people have freedoms, and they also have a right to make a living. And at the end of the day, all we got out of it was to ban up to 8 days. We're allowed to shoot fireworks off up to 11 o'clock. Now, the problem is policing it afterwards. You can't.
Yeah, well, and so you count on citizens to obey the law and to have some respect for their neighbors. That's what this is really all about, because the police can't be everywhere.
it can't be everywhere, and it's the same with the Marine Division, Coast Guard, as well as the Department of Natural Resources. They can't strictly enforce these laws. And the benefit of having a watercraft and enjoying the family and the family time on the water, that's priceless. But the reality is, when people that are utilizing these bigger boats, bringing them through the no-wake zones, and the water is penetrating over the seawall, eroding away their land, harming natural resources, and including ruining boats because the boats are moving back and forth. The docks are now covered over water. You're breaking a lot of rules, but more importantly, you're hurting everything in the streams and the canals, and you're threatening flooding and more erosion to the adjacent property owners.
All right, Senator Pete Lucido, stay right where you are. We're going to take a quick break here on the Frank Beckmann Show, and we'll be back to talk about the no-wake zones and a whole lot more. So we're getting the word out to all these people through Pete Lucido, the Republican senator from Shelby Township, who's been involved in a number of public issues, and he takes the leadership role. He's not afraid to do that. He's a lawyer, the only one in the state Senate, and when you see things that are wrong, you speak up about them and bring them to people's attention and try to solve problems.
Hey Frank, and I appreciate the fact that your show is one of the best one out there. There's no other better because you're bringing to the attention to your listeners, look, these are real issues. And I ask everyone, please be aware and be respectful while voting so that we can all enjoy our pure Michigan summer, because this is a really rotten time for high water levels. We have flooding going on already. It's a public safety issue, but we want to be safe instead of sorry.
I want to ask you about another issue that's coming up as well. We're going to speak to an attorney from the Pacific Legal Fund in just a little bit on this so-called policy of Michigan. They call it the predatory home equity theft policy, where state treasurer or county treasurers, when somebody's behind on their tax payments, they can just grab the property. In fact, state law, we're told, encourages them to do so. And they take the property. The homeowner gets absolutely nothing for it. And this is happening over small amounts of taxes that are underpaid. In one case, in this lawsuit that was filed yesterday, Wayne County was owed $144, and they seized two homes on this property that they sold for $108,000 to cover the $144 debt, and the family got nothing out of it.
Jesus. Frank, I've heard about wholesaling homes too, where you buy a whole lot of them, and sometimes the deeds that are included in there, this is it happened in Detroit, happen to be still owned by people living there paying their taxes. Mm-hmm. And it's ironic that you brought this up, because for $100 or $115, $20, $30, whatever it was that you said, at the end of the day, wouldn't it be cheaper just to send somebody over, knock on the door, and pick up a check? Utilize the services of our court system as well as all of the resources in our treasurer's office?
You would think. But listen, if it's worth $100,000 to your county treasury, then you go grab the home, won't you?
But it sounds like a windfall. It sounds like you're treating people unequitably, and you're treating them rotten. In fact, is what you're doing, because at the end of the day, if they didn't get noticed, because if they're elderly, and I'm telling you now, I'm going to protect the elderly at all costs. Because here's why. If they don't use a computer, and some don't, and they don't get a newspaper because we don't have the kind of circulation we used to, how else are they getting noticed about this $120 or $130 that they owe? I'd like to know that. Are they sending them registered? Are they sending a courier out there knocking on the door?
Well, you'd think they would before you'd grab the home, wouldn't you? I mean, that's just common sense.
There's a statute that said they have to be notified. There's publication statute that says it must go in the legal notices. Last time I checked, my mom and dad, when my dad was alive, and now my mom's still alive, she's probably listening to you right now, and you don't have access to no legal news, let alone a newspaper at this point. Her age, 92 years old. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm concerned about the satisfaction of, does our statutes need to be changed? Because wouldn't it be cheaper just to go ahead, instead of going through all the painstaking effort of doing all this advertising, putting out, notices on public walls where no one's watching those public walls or going into those buildings at 90 years old. And at the end of the day, wouldn't it be just more economical and just respectful to go knock on somebody's door and say, the property has a delinquency. Can we get a check?
Yeah, exactly.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, I would hope that there's every effort being made to allow people to pay that small debt rather than lose all of their property. Hey,
find out from the homeowners how long they lived on that property, how long they've been paying taxes, and how this bill even occurred.
Well, in this property, they were trying to move closer to the father of the wife, and they bought this property. It had a 4-unit home and a single-family home, working-class neighborhood in Detroit. They restored the house over 3 years, rented out the units, began to work on the other home, and suddenly they find out we got an outstanding tax debt, and it wasn't paid, and Wayne County's just going to take the houses away. So it's just... I'm
not a believer in that, and I'm not a fan of that. And I'll tell you, anybody that is elderly or is vulnerable, this is disgusting that this is happening.
All right, listen, we sure appreciate the time. Good luck in convincing some of those boaters out there who are not paying attention to honor the no-wake zones. It's very important. It's not just a throwaway, hey, slow down. It really matters to the people on shore, especially with the water levels this high. So I want to get back and remind people about that before we go. Senator Pete Lucido, always appreciate the conversation. Thank you for the time this morning, sir.
Great talking to you, and great having you always on the air to keep your listeners informed and foremost, and more importantly, abreast of what the good issues are here in Lansing and the state of Michigan.
God bless you. Thank you for the comments. I appreciate that. Talk to you soon.
Take care, Frank. Bye-bye now.